YouTubers, this is Nurse J at Nursing the Truth, and it's a Saturday afternoon, and I have got Thoth with me, always bringing the brightest of truth to my friends, all pagans, Gnostics alike. I hope you enjoy this one, and thank you for my new subscribers as of recently. So, is the I am that I am versus Jehovah Yahweh, are they the same or are they not? Let's take a look at some things right quick. I'm going to try to make this a short video. I might have to do it in a series. But as we've been talking about the Anunnaki gods in the Bible, I have made a video about 6 or 7 months ago, so you can look that up, Anunnaki gods in your Bible. We are talking about the dualistic brothers, Enki and Enlil. They're half brothers. Now, as we know, Enlil was a full-blooded Anunnaki, and Enki was the son of Anu, but it was with a concubine. So you have to go back to the Sumerian tablets to find out really exactly what happened. Because see, at first Enki was the lord of the earth, but then Enlil took over. So now we have a problem with the Bible. As myself, when I started going on this journey about 2.5 to 3 years ago, as I started to read from beginning to the end, not literally word for word, but skimming through a lot of things, I noticed that there was a schizophrenic God. 1 minute, he was all love, peace, and I'm with you, and I'm your sword and shield, and all this kind of stuff. And then the next minute, he's telling Moses and other people to kill, rape, steal, plunder Egypt, the whole 9 yards. Now, I do not take the Bible literally. I do not take it literally. There's a lot of allegory, myth stories from other countries. But the two brothers are warring factions. So let's take a look at the two gods in the Old Testament. Now, Enlil, as we know, was the commander of the air and the forces and the army. Enki was the genetic scientist. He was a peacemaker. He loved. He was the god of wisdom, crafts, and the mystery system. So you got to understand, when the Library of Alexandria was burnt down, the Roman Catholic Church was in its glory and starting up at this time. They took everything, all the writings, they knew all the gods, and when they put all this compilation together, they knew who was what in the game. Because as you know, your Bible is polytheistic. So let's look at this. Now, we know that when Yahweh, Jehovah, stepped on the scene, he says something to the effect of, I was not known to your forefathers. So that tells you right there, this wasn't the same person. Because why would God of the cosmos want to come down twice? Wouldn't he been at the very beginning? So if you're the God of the cosmos and you come down the first, then you should be with the second. You shouldn't have to be deceitful and lie and say, I was known by another name, or they didn't know me by this name. So people got to start thinking about that. Ea Asher Ea, okay, or however you want to say it. They say that this breaks it down into like EYAH, okay, that can sound like Ea. Ea was the Babylonian name for Enki, okay, so there you get that Semitic, Assyrian kind of breakdown, Babylonian breakdown. Now, the Gnostics, your Egyptian Gnostics, the ones that were being filleted in France, the Cathars were Gnostic Christians, and they knew that the Christ was inside of you, which is nothing but Egyptian mystery school teachings. A lot of the time, a lot of the mysteries were initiating people, letting them know that they had the spark of the divine within themselves. All of this comes from Enki and Thoth mystery schools. Enki was known as Ptah, the supreme creator god, and he was worshipped as a trinity in Memphis. So he was trying to show how we can get out of the matrix, basically. How to open up our chakras and how to not be in this game anymore. See, the minute that we all get out of this game and quit taking the pills, then we step back and we get out of the church, we stop giving money, and the whole institution starts crumbling down, and then the church doesn't get any money. And there goes your priesthood and their little pockets. Because if you believe in Jesus, Yeshua, Joshua, or the serpent, or Enki or Thoth intertwined, they tell you that the Christ is within and religion was a bunch of hocus pocus. You see. If you look at the Gospel of John, he talks about a story of a false god and creating men and unable to bring them to life. And the false god is told that he must breathe life into the bodies he's created. What the false god is not told is that as he breathes into the body he has created, the true God, a God that is spirit only, places a small speck of his own spirit into the body, giving it life. And the false god is allowed to continue his own ego trip, believing that he has created life, while the true God, the creator of all of life, remains hidden, acting in the background. You see, in John 8:44, this Jesus character, real or not real, he gets on to the Pharisees and he says, "Ye of your father the devil, and the lust of your father you will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it." Jesus was speaking of Jehovah Yahweh, the Lord of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. There creates another problem. If God of the cosmos creation has to put himself in flesh as a man and call himself Jesus, why is he contradicting himself? He would actually be calling himself the deceiver and the father of lies. So we know that this entity is not talking about himself. This is a total separate entity, this person. Why would the cosmic creator be talking about himself, saying that he's a murderer from the beginning, murder from the end, when this Jesus is saying that the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is the murderer? We do know that Yahweh, Jehovah, does a lot of killings, and he kills people. He lets babies get tore out of the mother's wombs, dashes their heads up against the rocks, starves them. It's a sick, disgusting thing. Now, Enlil authorized the genetic experiments that resulted in the eventual creation of modern man. And like I said, Enlil was mad and annoyed by the race, and he wanted us dead. So he wanted the flood to happen. And because Enki was the progenitor of the Noahide race, which really wasn't Noah, they took that name in the Hebrews writing. It was Zuasundra from the beginning. Actually, Zuasundra was the son of Enki, and Cain was his grandchild. So, my dear truth seekers, the Cain line is not the seed of Satan. Okay? Enki was a member of the Elohim with a spiritual background. Over time, Enki came to the conclusion that mankind needed to know its true potential and started a mystery school system in ancient Egypt. The Gnostic religion was the outer form of the mystery school system and was a primary recruiting ground for the members that later came known as the Great White Brotherhood. The organization derived its name not from a race, but from its focus on a particular substance, the white powder of gold. Many races and nationalities were represented in the Great White Brotherhood. Enlil was jealous of Enki and was mad that he had all the mystical powers and he was so wise. And Enlil didn't have that. Enki and Enlil and the gang and the crew waged a number of turf wars against each other and was using humans to do their fighting. That's why each nation had their own god. And Enki was only in Africa. But Marduk's son wanted to usurp his territories outside of what he was given. And so that's where a lot of the problems started. The Elohim, far from being a divine race, were little different from the world's population today, constantly fighting for control of the land and the natural resources the land it contains. Enki, through the mystery school system, taught mankind that there is a true God, a God of spirit, that is the true source of all life in the universe, a God based strictly on love, peace, compassion, and this is your universal consciousness, the creator of all. And my beloved Egyptians talked about the all. All is one, and one is with the all. Look it up, my friends. The Egyptians were not evil people. They taught what the universe was. They taught how it was in harmony with each other. And Egypt is of holy ground. Each day we have a choice. We can serve and worship the memory of a physical being steeped in lies, manipulation, violence, murder, genocide, or we can serve the spirit based on love, peace, and compassion and kindness. Universal consciousness is spirit, and we are the divine child of God or the spirit. We are the light of the world. We bring ourselves closer to the universal God consciousness, closer to the truth, and closer to the perfection that God, universal consciousness, sees in each and every one of us. We are oneness and the only reality. Truth is the only value, and love is the only power. The only religion that I know is truth. We know, in fact, that Jehovah is a demiurge god known as Satan. But really, Satan was made up by the Catholic Church to where they can push the doctrine of original sin by St. Augustine. Go check it out. And Martin Luther, he loved St. Augustine, and so he grafted that teaching and doctrine into the Protestant Reformation. Enlil wanted to kill and enslave us and keep us dumbed down from spiritual wisdom, because you see, the gods had that. But Enki refused to stand idly and sit by and watch us dwindle and be slaves in this illusionary reality. So we owe him all thanks and gratitude. When the cuneiform tablets were found in ancient Sumer in the 1800s by George Smith and they were transcribed, they were found in Nineveh under King Ashurbanipal's library, and the many biblical scholars were at odds with themselves. They could not believe how the Hebrew stories matched perfectly in a fine-tuned musical theatrical performance with those tablets. Everything from the flood to the creation of man, all that was in sync. You see, the Sumerian text predates the Bible around 1,000 years before the Hebrew text was put out. You see, they like to put lies and truth, and you have to discern who is what and what is going on. When you see the hateful things that Yahweh says about killing, murder, destruction, setting fires, burning children, human sacrifices, animal sacrifices, that's Enlil, Jehovah. But then when Yahweh Jehovah is nice and kind and says, who ordered you to do such things when I brought you out of the land of Egypt, even though we know the Exodus never happened, it's been proven archaeological, and Egypt has no record of that. And guarantee you, my friends, Egypt wrote down everything under the sun, and if you sneezed or had a cold, they wrote about it. Now, as we know, when these people, the Israelites or Canaanites, when they were in Canaan, we know Yahweh was a Canaanite god, one of the sons of El. They took a lot of the epithets of El and Baal and Hadad and Adad and mixed it up into the Yahweh character. Because you see, that part of the world was Enlil's gang and Enlil's sons, okay? That was their area. Now, Baal, did some research on this the other night. Baal was an 18th Egyptian dynasty god from Egypt. So I don't know if that kind of infiltrated from the Hyksos at one point. I'm not sure. But they did find some of the stuff in Tanis, which is where the Hyksos was at one time, called Avaris, Tanis, Zion. Okay? So we know that this Bible is not monotheistic. We do know that El was a sect among the northern Israelites, and the Yahweh sect was in the south in Judah. Just like Shamash was the god of the Moabites, Milcom of the Ammonites, Hadad of the Armenians, and Melkart of the Tyrians. Isn't it also funny too in the Bible that you find it says that initially some of the same claim and stock of the Judeans felt that they had a claim to rule over all the Hebrews, and all the Israelites did not feel the same. They each developed their own countries with their own kings, and both they also had their own biblical versions. So you have the two kingdoms. They had different versions So during the 6th and 7th centuries, these separate but similar Bibles were merged in effort to unite the tribes under one king, under one banner. Also, too, in the Bible, it does talk about that they were, I guess you could say, they were kin to the Armenians, which basically means Assyrians, which basically means the Hyksos. Enki was called wisdom and knowledge. So I'm gonna let you go at this point. We've already done 20 minutes. I hope this has been an informative video for you guys. Keep searching for the truth, and when you find the truth, let the truth set you free, and let Thoth help you out on that as well. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time with part 2. 2 is I am that I am, and Yahweh the same, or two separate gods. Ashe and Hotep, and have a great day.